Issues. This is Dave Arnold, your host of Cooking Issues, coming to you live from the heart of Manhattan at Rockefeller Center, Newsstand Studios, New York City. Rocking the panels here, we got Joe Hazen. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Great to see you. Sorry for last week. A little ill.
Hey, you know, you gotta, everyone's gotta stay safe. That's the new way it works these days. Also in the studio, we got John. How you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
How's the restaurant doing?
Good. Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Good. Yeah.
Temperance?
Yeah, everything's going well.
Everyone in the country's been but me, right?
And Joe, actually. I figured this morning I should start ragging on Joe, too.
Yeah.
You know.
In California, in an automobile, going to try to save Booker and Daxter Corporation, we have Nastasia Lopez. She'll say hello whenever she can probably unmute herself, so, you know, I'm not going to force her.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, nice. Yeah. How's that going? How's saving the day going?
Fine. It's fine. I'm not yet there yet, but when I get there, I'll send you a photo of the check.
Yeah. What you should do is also see if you can, like, go in back and see if your mom still has lemongrass growing in the back. I want to see the lemongrass that was somehow an emotional trigger for you as a child and caused you to...
It's not there. It's not there anymore.
Now, you ripped it out or she ripped it out?
I think they ripped it out, yeah.
But can't you imagine? Can't you just see yourself, like, one night, like, college, like, coming home, like... and ripping out all the lemongrass and throwing it over. What is it like in that part of California? Is it like cinder block walls between the lawns or like hedges between the lawns? How does it work over there?
Yeah. Cinder blocks.
Yeah, and just throwing it over the cinder blocks, being like, little lemongrass. I could see you doing that.
I would never do that. I'm a very good child.
Okay. All right.
I am. I told you this next.
So at home, of the three of you, you were the golden child.
No, all three of us were.
Your brother was the golden child.
There was no golden child. Yeah, we were golden children.
All right. That doesn't work that way usually. There's always one. Who was it? I'm not going to make you choose.
What?
There's always one who's the cut up. And it is...
Oh, no.
Yeah, all right.
No.
Okay. All right. I will let that lay where it is. And we got Jackie Molecules in L.A. town. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Good.
Yeah. And then from Nanaimo, Vancouver Island, off the coast, in the most northern westerly part of the Cooking Issues Kingdom, we have Quinn. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I was the golden child.
Yeah? Nice.
Between me and my brother.
Golden Child, not a good movie, by the way, but has some very good lines in it. You've all seen The Golden Child, right?
Never even heard of it.
No.
What?
Yeah.
Of course.
Same.
Yeah. You've never heard of The Golden Child?
No.
Have you heard of this comedian, Eddie Murphy? Have you heard of Eddie Murphy?
Who?
Oh, God, you guys suck. Stas,
Of course I've heard of Eddie Murphy.
Is that in your range, The Golden Child?
No.
It's probably, I don't know whether it's still okay to watch, but Eddie Murphy has to, like, save this Tibetan kid with all this stuff and the devil and all this. But the best is he goes into this temple at the top of a mountain. It's probably probably unwatchable now. But he wants this knife, this magic knife. Joe, you're with me, right? And he goes, I want the knife. And they're like, you have to, like, rub these wheels. And he's like, I want the knife. And then, like,
Scratch.
and then they don't give it to him. And he goes, and he spins the wheel and goes, please. It's best. It's peak Eddie Murphy, like, bad Eddie Murphy movie. You guys watch any Eddie Murphy movies?
Yeah. Nutty Professor.
Shrek.
Nutty Professor?
Nutty Professor's classic.
Shrek? I mean, Shrek's a great movie. I don't consider...
Changing Places, and then...
Coming to America.
Yes, there we go. Thank you, Jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about old school? What about Beverly Hills Cop?
Yeah, that's good, too.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Golden Child. All right. Any good cooking things happen to you guys in the past 2 weeks? Anything? Is this going to be one of those things where afterwards...
I've been cooking a lot. That's about it.
Yeah, what? You have been cooking a lot? What? Because Nastasia's going to say later, Jack had stories. Jack had stories, and you didn't let him say it. So here's your chance.
No, I don't have stories. It's not very interesting. I've just been making more food than I usually do. Let's see, I did a cauliflower curry last night from the Minnesota book and a bunch of night market recipes from their book.
Yeah. Cauliflower curry is a dry curry or a wet curry?
No, wet curry.
It is a wet curry or not a wet curry?
It is a wet curry.
Coconut milk wet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That sounds good. But what's the primary spice that is used in that recipe? What's the color of the coconut milk?
No turmeric, so it's not turmeric color. Coriander, cumin, garam masala at the end, little ginger, chili, garlic paste, the mortar and pestle. I've been increasing the chili in all my recipes by at least like twofold lately, and it's been working out well.
All right, so I made chili beans. So, like, remember I published that thing on beans a while back about how not to have the toots with the beans? So I have a new technique to reduce the toots because it turns out like the anti-toot factor only makes it into the beans. This is going to make it back to what we were talking about. So I cook them in I add a little baking soda, tiny bit, just so that they cook really quickly. Don't bother soaking them. 45-minute cook, but in like massive amounts of excess liquid. Then I let it cool a lot, drain the liquid off, add the Beano to that, and then reduce that. And I made chili beans yesterday, and I added, or 2 days ago, and I added way too much chili for my standard mix is like a mix of like ancho, pasilla, and guajillo chilies, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of my standard triples, and I'll add whatever else I have. But I guess I added what I would normally add to a whole pork shoulder, and I only did it to like a pound of beans. And so like I was like, this is fine. You know what I mean? But everyone else was like, eh! So I had to add like a regular pound of beans, which ends up multiplying by like 1.8 or 2 point whatever it is, 3. I added freaking 770 grams of potato to try to soak up the extra spice, and it worked. But do you know what a pain in the behind it is to cook? Because I was like, I needed to do it right away. And if I was smart, what I would have done is I would have hacked up and boiled the potatoes for about 10 minutes and then drained them and thrown them in. Mm-hmm. But I was like, no, I don't know what I thought. I thought maybe because if they were more porous or whatever, I was like, I got to do it. So I just hacked up the potatoes and threw it into the already made chili. Already had the tomato paste and everything. And then I was like, oh, snap. Hey, I was like, oh, snap. I can't freaking cook the potatoes because there's no convection currents inside of the chili. And to get the actual top of the chili, the middle of the chili hot enough to cook the potatoes, I would have to burn the bottom. And I actually, Chris Young's combustion engineering thermometer, he's going to come on. Quinn, when's he coming on?
Soon.
No, soon. No, that's a good time, soon. So Chris has made this thermometer that has 7 different sensors in it, right? 7 different sensors, like all along its length. And you can get a readout. You have to ask for like the beta testing. It's not the regular Jokimos don't have it yet. You will regular Jokimos have it soon, but like right now you need a beta tester, and you can just get a readout of all 7 sensors with no interpolation, no AI or any of that stuff. And I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God, the temperature stratification in a pot of thickened beans is like 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It's nuts. Wow. So like, and in order for the potato to cook, it's got to get over 185. So anyway, it took me, instead of that like 8 minutes it would have taken me to boil those potato chunks until they were al dente. It was like an hour. It was like an hour or more. And I was like, oh my God. So I threw it into my steam oven to try to steam it from all sides to get it to work. It was just a freaking nightmare. But I will tell you, Jack, it did soak up the extra spice. So the spice level was good after I was done. I had to add more salt.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you familiar with the Yondu?
Good product.
No.
We got to get those guys to be a sponsor. I love that product. I add Yondu to everything. If you want to add umami, but you don't want it to taste like soy, if you want it to taste like soy, go to the Moromi people because that stuff's delicious.
Yep.
Right? But if you don't want it to taste like soy sauce, Yondu is a good product. We have a caller? Product. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hey. What's up?
Hi. Sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, I can, yes.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
Oh, great. Good to hear. So I am looking into outdoor deep frying, and I was looking at the Cajun fryer that you recommended that Wiley's used, and what the website said was, due to supply chain issues, none of our items have diamond plate aluminum anymore. Blah 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 blah. So I'm wondering if you have a solution for outdoor deep frying without buying like a commercial unit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So for those that don't know or haven't heard me like go on and on and on about this before,
Sure.
Commercial deep fryers beat the snot out of any other frying method, period. And if you want to have the same quality that you can get out of a commercial deep fryer inside and not ruin your oil instantly, right, by overheating it and then dropping it, overheating it and dropping it, you need to only fry like 2 French fries at once.
Recovery zone.
Yeah. Right. So the Cajun fryer was what we had said. Wiley uses it. The only problem is it doesn't have a thermostat, so you have to kind of hand dial it in, right?
Sure,
is a good outdoor.
Easy.
Right. So I had a commercial unit outdoors, but I will tell you this: commercial units aren't built to be outdoors. Does Cajun Fryer still sell it? They just don't have the drop-down lid, or do they not sell any units at all?
It's literally like I went to the website, I tried the other offsites, and it's not available right now.
Well, look, most people I know who do outdoor frying, like they'll get like a wok burner or a candy stove, and then just like
sorry to cut you off. So I have one like an outdoor turkey fryer unit, and for some reason it defeats it at 350, and so I had to use a bungee cord to hold in the button such that I could reach 425 to drop the turkey.
Well, you shouldn't need to get it that hot, right? So like one of the reasons you have to overheat oil, like wicked overheat oil inside, right, is that you simply don't have the BTUs to keep oil at the frying temperature during the initial period when it's going down. So the miracle of a commercial fryer or like one of these Cajun things is that it just has such a high gas output, right? And it has such a large amount of oil, right? That your temperature drop just isn't as severe as it would be on a stove, right? Because I forget, but my gas fryer was somewhere in the neighborhood of 80,000 BTUs, right? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 100,000 BTUs on 40 pounds of oil. So it could heat that whole pound of that whole batch of oil up in 5.5 minutes, right?
Right, quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So you don't need to heat your oil up to a zillion degrees if your recovery time is fast. You only need to do that if you need to build in a lot of extra thermal energy into the oil itself because your heating element is not strong enough. So 350 seems low.
That's the issue. Yeah, exactly.
350 is high enough for a turkey because turkeys you're going to be cooking for a long time, right? So you don't really ever need it to be that high.
But the problem is if you drop it at 350, then the oil temp's going to drop super low, and then it's going to have to build up back up to the ideal frying temp, like 350, 375.
Right, but remember, you're going to be cooking for how long though? You're going to be cooking for like a long time.
45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So like a couple of minutes of drop on a 45-minute cook isn't a big deal if turkeys is what you're doing. It is a big deal if you're doing crab cakes or French fries or
that's the thing. I'm not just using this for turkeys.
Right.
I'm also doing fries and whatnot.
Right, but remember, turkey is a massive thermal load, right? Massive. And the oil is getting all on the inside and all on the outside. Huge thermal load, right? So first of all, I don't understand how this thing is controlling the temperature because all of the turkey fryers that I've used are just like a burner. and they will ignite you,
I don't know,
your house.
Maybe it's like a super. I don't know. It's my dad's. It's like maybe it's like a super ghetto. You know.
Well, I don't know. Or super expensive. Super expensive. Safe, right? One. Like I would say, like the ones that I have, the cheap ones I have, are perfectly happy to let you incinerate you, your house, your life, you know what I mean? But you know, and
so what would you recommend for like let's say I'm trying to put out, you know, like a bunch of fries, a bunch of chicken, and maybe a whole fried fish or something like that.
Well,
what would you recommend now, considering the Cajun fryer isn't available? What's your
right? I mean, I'm not going to say this is safe because it's not, but you can go ahead and get. I forget the name of it, but they're extremely popular in Louisiana. They come in a bunch of different sizes. They're aluminum. Like oven roasters, but they're big. I forget who makes them. I can picture them in my mind. They have like scalloped. That lid has like scallop handles on the side, and if you look up like favorite Louisiana pot and get the biggest one humanly possible. And they use them outside to make like rice. They use them outside but that is big and aluminum. So it's big, aluminum, and thick. So it can conduct.
And aluminum means it'll heat quick.
Right. And then put that over like they have outdoor candy stoves or like camp stoves with a high output. Like I'm talking, like I'm saying, like, and you need to have a
candy stove. Right.
But be careful. But be careful. And you need to have the right regulator for it so that it can actually output the heat that you need. But again, be careful.
I'm as careful as you are.
Be more careful than me, and make sure you have a side table. A couple of side tables, like one for raw and one for cooked, so that you have a good workflow as you're going. And
I have tables and I have like sheet trays with racks.
All right, yeah. Let us know how it works, but please stay safe. I hesitate to.
Okay.
And then when the Cajun comes back online, go get it.
No.
I wish I could remember the name of that pot.
Super dangerous. But I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I'll look it up. I'll let you know. Thank you very much.
All right, no problem. Have a good one. That's old school. Old school. Do you remember that lady who used to? So for those of you that grew up like recently, people of like the younger generation, we used to have actual telephones that were connected to wires, right? And if you lifted up the phone, you didn't have to like press anything. If you lifted up the phone, you got what's called a dial tone. And then if you didn't do anything for like 20, 30 minutes, bam, 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 and then it would go, if you need help, hang up and dial the operator. Well, if I need help, how the hell am I going to hang up and dial the operator? But her voice is like burrowed into my head. If you need help. And it was the same lady all across the country with that thing. The way she said, help. I need help.
And then the great thing is you can hang up on people.
That voice was. Yeah, who was that?
Let's find out.
I'm just I'll find out.
Yeah. But that actually, I think she says that first, and then it goes into the first. It goes boodle deep, and then it was You know what I mean? Old phone noses. I love it. When I was a kid, people used to they used to be called phone freaks. Remember this? Anyone? Phone freaks? And they would, you know what DTMF is? Dual tone. So like when you press a phone button, it sounds weird because there's two different tones on it, so they can decode what button you're pressing based on noises. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so people would have special boxes that would make these tones that couldn't be made with the pad, but that told the phone company something so they could get free calls and stuff.
Huh.
Those were the days. Anyway, one more thing.
Hey, Dave, real quick, just so to close the loop on this. Her name is Jane Barb. She was an American voice actress and singer, and she was known as the time lady for the recordings she made for Bell System and the phone companies.
Wait,
so it was her voice.
Give me her name again.
2003.
Give me her name again.
Jane Barb, Barbe.
What kind of songs did she sing? I want to know. Yeah, put that on our Spotify list.
She's most known for she's most known for the phone stuff. So I don't know if her music ever really went anywhere. But
did she do a jazz version?
Figure because of the.
I want a jazz version. If you need help, hang up and call the operator. That's what I want. Barb. By the way, someone, did I say this on air? My wife was watering the plants of the neighbor next door, and as she was flying back through Dubai, she went to the duty free and got us these dates from Medina. Have you had Ajwa, like Medina dates?
Nope.
So good.
Yeah.
Real good. I highly recommend them. They're I don't consider them necessarily a dessert date. I think they're maybe like a with coffee date. They're like the date you want with coffee, right? And get this. These are the dates, specifically, this variety, these dates, were the dates that the Prophet Muhammad was like, this is the date from paradise, right? So whatever you believe about that, think about the fact that for over 1,000 of years, people have been growing this date and perfecting this date, thinking that this is the date that the Prophet Muhammad said is the date. So think of how delicious those dates are.
Really delicious. I thought you were going to say there was somehow that you knew it was the date from Indiana Jones or something like that.
No, that's the poison date. Bad dates. Talk another problematic movie franchise. But bad dates. That's the classic. That monkey. The monkey died with his own date.
It's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Here you go.
The number you have reached has been disconnected.
Yeah. You got to get the one where she says, if you need help. Get the one where he says, if you need help. I love it. But the time lady. All right. And lastly, I put on the Instagram, or second to lastly, I put on the Instagram my current, to talk more about Breaking Wind. And Nastasia, of course, is the queen of serving sunchokes to people who don't know any better. Queen of it. So I did a bunch of research on how to get the inulin is what is in sunchokes, aka Jerusalem artichokes, that cause you to have gastrointestinal distress. And it's not just Toots, people. It's like that upper abdominal like expansion that you can't get out. You can't burp it. You can't toot it. It's just in there pushing from all directions. And holy smokes, is it
Remember
painful.
after we ate that whole plate of it at Crown Shy?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
And whoosh, right here, right in like a mid-abdomen. It's like
very uncomfortable.
It's like alien growing inside of you. It's the worst. So that's inulin, the same stuff that breaks down into fructose when they take agave and roast it for infinity. So if you can't roast it for infinity, it turns out that acid plus heat, right? So the trick is to squeeze lemon over it before you cook it, right? So dice it fine so that you can get the lemon all up, and disc it, cut it into discs, rinse it, cut into discs, then toss it in lemon juice, right? Then I pressure cook it because I'm not messing around. I want to cook the hell out of that inulin. I don't want the gastrointestinal distress. So a 15-minute pressure cook when it's been tossed in lemon. And then afterwards you can puree it if you want to neutralize the acidity, although I don't know why you would, because the sweetness comes out, so the acidity is nice with it. And at that point, you can mount it with butter or cream and alliums of your choice. And it's real good. And I've eaten a lot of it as a test. And I have to tell you, I'm very sensitive to these things, and it caused me no problems. No problems. So today we are your anti-toot people.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. You know what else I did over the break? Every January 14th, both my kids' birthday. For the past, I don't know, like 12, 13 years, they've wanted, maybe 10, 12 years, they've wanted sushi for their birthday dinner. And so I have to do the whole thing. You know what I mean? But Booker only really wants salmon products. So I get all of these other things, and then he by himself eats an entire half kilo of ikura. By himself. I go around, I was like, did anyone else have ikura? And Dax is like, no. Jen's like, I had maybe like one spoonful. I was like, I didn't. And then that evening, gone. Half kilo. That's 500 grams. That's over a pound of fish eggs. And the only reason he didn't eat more is because we only bought the half kilo container and not the kilo container, right? Because it's coming in. Oh my God. There's been a shortage of ikura, of chum ikura over the past couple of years. So the price has just gone through the freaking roof. I also did a side-by-side taste of Ora King salmon and regular salmon from Aquabest. And I didn't say anything. So I just did, I do what I always do, which is I skin it and then cook the skin separately, right? And then a 2-to-1 salt sugar, on the fillet. I take out the bloodline on the skin side, and then I cut it into the top piece and the loin / belly piece. Sometimes if the belly is real thin, I'll chop off the belly and roast it and eat it myself. But I have those two pieces, and then I'll salt sugar 2-to-1, and then I wet a paper towel in rice vinegar, and then squeeze it so it's just damp, and then wrap it in the rice vinegar, and then air dry it with the towel around it in my fridge for a couple of hours. That's my standard. So I did that to both, and I just put them out, and the Ora King just got pounded. Like the Ora King was like gone, and only a couple slices of the other one. And I didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
So that was my Count Rumford originally did that with. I think it was Count Rumford. He did that with, Papan, whatever his name is, Papan. Did this when he invented the pressure cooker. He put pressure cooked lamb and not pressure cooked lamb roast out, and then didn't say anything and just see which one got eaten, and the pressure cooked one got eaten. Denny Papan, I think, not Papan, Jacques Papan. Although our thing is up, right? Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Your recipe is up.
All right. So with that said, you want to promote the Patreon membership, and we'll get to some questions from the Patreon folk?
Yeah, Patreon. Excuse me. Patreon.com/cooking issues. Give it a join. There's a couple different membership levels. You get different perks at all the membership levels. You get access to videos. You get prioritized questions answered. You can call in live to the show. You get discounts with partners that we work with.
Like Kitchen Arts and Letters.
We're due for Classics in the Field Day, speaking of which, aren't we?
All right, yeah. Also, if you want something, if you're on the Patreon, ask us. We'll see if we can do
put
it.
a request in, absolutely. Yeah. So, join.
And we were supposed to have Carolyn Schiff last week, but we had to cancel. Don't worry, we're going to have her back on, so you can ask all of your... she wrote a book, what was it called? Sweet Sourdough? Sweet Sourdough?
I think so.
Sweet side of sourdough.
Sweet side of sourdough. Yeah. All right. All right. Questions in from Apple Bottom Beans. And that's, you know whoever you are. Now that song's in my head. How am I supposed to answer your question? You know what I'm saying? That song is now in the head, and I can't get it out. Anyway, did Dave ever eat that vintage canned lard? I have not eaten it yet, mainly because I need to find a group of people who will eat it with me. You know what I mean? Like, there's three kinds. There's the people who are like not that interested in doing a lard tasting in general. Like Dax is just not that interested. So I've done all these like lard biscuits versus butter biscuits versus I made a vegetarian lard, like something that acts like lard but isn't. And most people like the flavor of the butter so much that they don't care about the texture interest of the lard, right? So I haven't found anyone who's like super stoked about it yet.
Shocking.
I mean, but what the hell's going to go wrong?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've not eaten it yet, but you know what? It's only getting, like, from a percentage age basis, only marginally older as it sits in my house. You know what I mean? Like, if it's already 80 years old, 80 years and 2 months, that's like nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if I held it for another 10 years, that's still less than that's like 10% or so of its life. You know what I mean? Anyway, Fup Jack, a question for the next tangent, man. You've hit it. I've seen All Tangent Tuesday. I've seen recipes for using wafer irons to make wafer cookies, but in my experience, they usually turn out more like PCLs. Definitely thin, but not the same stackable level of crisp as commercial wafer cookies like Keebler sugar wafers or the crunchy layers in a Coffee Crisp. You hear that, Quinn? Coffee Crisp. You with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about what's the brand that we get? The German one. You know what I'm talking about? These wafer cookies. It's like basically flavored Oreo filling and then wafer, Oreo filling wafer, Oreo filling wafer, Oreo filling wafer. But there's an Italian one too. What's the Italian one style? It's like quadrati or something.
Yeah. Quadratini.
Yeah. I love those things.
Yeah,
I also like the really crappy ones that I get at the supermarket where like the bottom of the bag is all filled with dust and it's got that fake strawberry flavor. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it's like eating quick when you were a kid. Remember you just eat quick?
I never did that. No.
Oh, come on, man.
I never did.
You never ate quick?
No.
Really?
Really?
And you never, when you were a kid, made a faux icing by beating together butter and quick?
No.
What about butter and strawberry quick?
No.
Okay. I'm going to pretend to believe you.
That never even occurred to me until right now. That doesn't sound terrible, but I also never just shoveled quick powder into my mouth.
What about Tang powder?
No, Tang wasn't really a thing for me.
Damn.
Yeah, sorry.
Man, we had just different lives growing up.
Yeah.
Did you cut hot dogs in half and watch them curl in the toaster and call them sea sausages?
No.
No?
I'd cook them in the pan and I'd see them curl.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Fried bologna sandwiches? No. Are we in the same world? I was in Jersey the other day because Museum of Food and Drink is selling its fortune cookie machine. And I had to go try to turn it on, and they didn't have the right power, so I was only able to turn on some of it. But I was by the White Rose System diner, which is, along with White Mana, like the two kind of slider joints in that area.
Yeah.
So I got one of their sliders. It was good. But I got one of their Taylor ham, which is a pork roll, egg, potato, cheese on Kaiser sandwich. And it was good with ketchup, which is the official how you're supposed to get it there. No arguments. I was like, how am I supposed to get it? He's like, first time here. I'm like, yes, first time here. And anyway, so like he throws the slices of the Taylor ham, which is like, pork roll, looks like bologna slice, right? On the griddle. And they start cupping, right? And I'm like, is this guy a jerk? Does this guy think I'm a jerk? Right? You know what I mean? Like, has this guy never cooked anything in his life? Does he not know how this works? And then, without looking, he takes his spatula, without looking, just goes, bam, 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 perfect Pac-Mans, each one, like perfect Pac-Man, each one of the slices after it had started cupping. I was like, oh, he's done this. He's done this. Not like a miss, not like a little off on the side, perfect Pac-Man. I was like, okay. Anyway, so back to Pete Sales. When I was a kid, my stepfather had 3 maiden aunts, right? Meaning they never got married. They all lived together in Medford, outside of Boston. And, they all were, had their various levels. But even after, like, they were basically blind, they would make PCLs constantly. So I would show up and you would just get, like, giant piles of PCLs. So if you never had one before, they're like a flat, sweet, thin, crispy cookie, right? My family, we never rolled them. We had them flat. You know what I mean? Joe, you grew up with these things?
No, I never did.
No, but they're weird because they have like a shape in them. They're molded in like what's a waffle iron, but they're not like they're crunchy all the way through. But it kind of looks like a flour, like a doily almost. It looks kind of like a doily. Would you say that's any of you guys PTL people? Anyone? Quinn?
Oh yeah, I'm a PTL person.
Yeah. All right. So am I accurately describing this to your memories?
It's like embroidered.
Yeah. But it's sweet. It's got sugar in it and egg, typically, right? And so it's because it's like fairly high in sugar. It's also really moldable. So some people mold them into shapes and whatnot. We didn't. We ate them flat. You know what I mean? But they're delicious. Mm-hmm. But what Fupjack wants is more like the wafer cookies that we were talking about before, and those don't have any sugar in them. Right? Those are completely almost dead neutral. And you can buy those crackers, by the way. In fact, in Eastern European shops here in New York, they're called, what are they called? They're called like oblatne. And they're huge. They're like bigger than 11 by 17 inches. They're big. And the waffle pattern's a little thicker. But I bought some for Miley, my sister-in-law, who we have to have on the show. And I was like, I want you to make me a giant wafer. And she hasn't done it yet. But so what I would say is I would look up, instead of what you're currently looking up, I would look up another Italian product that I've never had from a Molise, where I've never been, and called Osti, which is their unsweet wafer. Right, and those recipes, which you can make in a PTL iron, I think, is like 500 grams of flour and 750 milliliters of water and a little bit of oil. You're going to have to oil the hell out of the pan, too, and then a pinch of salt. And that's it. And so I think that's the secret. So you're going to want to make something. I mean, you could maybe add egg, but that's going to soften it. So I wouldn't, right? It's just, I think, just a flour and water batter. And I looked at some of the oblatne recipes that not recipes, ingredients lists online. And similarly, like they might add some alternate starch like maize, but it's basically flour and water and then, a little bit of oil. So I think that's going to be the secret. And when it comes time to make the filling, I will say this, a perfect sandwich cookie filling is made to not melt. No matter kind of how hot your kitchen gets, because think about it, they got to ship Oreos and these wafers everywhere, and they don't know how hot the truck is, right? So they have a very special fat that they use for sandwich filling. Now, if you look online at different recipes for sandwich cookie filling, like King Arthur flour has a 100% shortening base, and some people don't like it because it's 100% shortening base, right? Some people do 100% butter, and the problem with 100% butter is it's way too soft. So unless you can store it in a place that's cool, it's gonna out on you when it stores, right? I recommend in my sandwich cookie filling, I use a mixture of butter and coconut fat, because coconut fat, unless your kitchen gets very hot, coconut fat is going to stay solid, right? So if coconut fat stays solid in your kitchen, which most likely it does, then coconut fat, a mix of coconut fat and butter, then you won't have to use, you can use shortening, but then you won't have to use shortening for your filling. What do you think?
Yeah, good answer.
Okay. All right. Dave Kleiman, recently I wanted to make a batch of Biscoff, which I guess is like the speculoos from...
Yep.
Yeah. What's the name of that place? The place in
Maison d'Endroit.
Oh, my God. So you go into this place, and I don't know who buys it. Who buys the like 3-foot tall cookies?
Oh, I don't know.
But these speculoos cookies, speculoos?
Speculoos.
All right. They're thin.
Yeah.
Right? Crispy. Crunchy, right?
Yeah, delicious.
Brown, not burnt.
No.
Right? And they mold them with various pictures, and they have all the molds throughout the shop. But some of them, like I say, are like 3 feet high. I'm like, how am I getting that cookie? Forget an airplane. How do I get that cookie home a block? If I live a block away, how am I getting that cookie home? What do you know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ever seen anyone buy one of those giant cookies?
No, I haven't, but I also haven't spent enough time there to know that. But yeah, no, I don't know. I know what you're talking about. And they are excessively big.
Yeah. I mean, if I could speak Flemish or French, right, and I went in there, I would, with whatever the equivalent local accent is, be like, who's buying this? What's going on?
So I'd be so afraid of damaging that in transport. They're so brittle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like the most brittle thing. Like you look at them, they break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're delicious. And so that's what Dave's trying to make, in which the recipe calls for toasted sugar. All right. So I'm assuming what you say you're doing is you're putting the sugar in an oven at 300 degrees Fahrenheit and stirring it to kind of get a caramelization, which kind of harkens back to McGee. McGee used to do stuff where he would put sugar crystals into the oven at like large sugar crystals into the oven at low temperature for very long times and get them to caramelize at those low temperatures. And you say, is there a time temperature chart for the Maillard reaction as it applies to toasted sugar? Well, it's caramelization is a different reaction, right? It's not a protein reaction. I'm willing to do 140 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 weeks if it means I never have to stir, but will eventually come out golden brown and remain granulated. But would it? So I would look up Harold McGee's article on cooking sugar in the oven, but I will say how they do it in the real life in Belgium. And what they do is they make something called candy sugar, C-A-N-D-I, sugar. And it's a Belgian brown sugar, but it's not brown sugar made from molasses. It's a caramelized sugar. And it's used in brewing, and I believe it's also the same stuff that's used in these cookies. And it's not that hard to make. So what you do is you take sugar and water. It doesn't really matter how much water because you're just using that to turn it into a solution, right? And acid. And what the acid's doing is it's inverting the sugar because Belgian candy sugar is inverted, right? And then you cook it until you achieve the color you want. Right? Be careful. Don't burn it. Cook it till you achieve the color you want. Then pour it onto a silpat in a pan. Let it crystallize, right? Which it will. It'll become hard like a caramel candy, right? And then just pulverize it. Hit it with a hammer or a rolling pin, and then throw it into a food processor and go whackety whackety yakety schmackety and sift it. And there you have it. That's what they use. Or just go buy Belgian candy sugar. Right, that's another way you could do it. Because, you can also make your own Belgian pearl sugar when you're making Liège waffles, which everyone should make Liège waffles. Actually, you know what? Do you have a regular human being waffle iron, John?
I think so. I got
to test whether you can actually make a real Liège waffle or even a real like Brussels style waffle in a standard waffle iron if you allow like 5 minutes in between waffles.
Yeah.
Like if you try to make back-to-back waffles, it's not possible.
Yeah. I have the wearing one from the FCI, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll run some tests.
Okay.
I'll give you a recipe, you run some tests.
Yeah, sounds good.
Or you can come over in all your free time, chef, and then we can do side by side between the two waffle irons. Because it would be good to know if you could make a waffle that's the same out of a home iron that you could out of the ridiculous iron. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to say no, but we can try.
We could try. I mean, I think the issue, like I say, is that, even I have to wait a couple of minutes. If I want them perfect, because I'm in a 120 socket, I have to wait a couple of minutes in between, and mine takes 15 to 20 minutes to heat up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have a caller? Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Josh from Norfolk here.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
So, quick clarification question. I've got a bartender that made a lovely syrup with, among other things, powdered turmeric, which I would like to get unpowdered. So my question is, do I need to add anything to that to get it to come out in the Spinzall? And should I be worried about it turmericing up the Spinzall?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You should always be worried about turmeric staining things, because that's what it does. Like, it's the Terminator of staining things in your kitchen. Like, it makes beets look like they're stain free. It makes beets look like OxyClean. Turmeric does. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything though. I would say it would be good if there was something else in there that it could cling to. But I would, in the Spinzall, do it in batch mode, right? So what I mean is, like, don't try to do continuous mode. I would do it batch by batch. Have you tried that and it's not coming out?
No, I literally, she just came in and showed me it, and I was like, oh, I know I got to call about this.
Yeah. So the other thing I would say is that how much syrup do you have?
Only about 400 mils.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
if we make it as a prep item, it's...
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But what I was saying is that, like, what I would do in general is I would put it in a long cylindrical thing, and then I would let it sit for it. If you have the time, let it sit for a day or two, then rack off the top part, and then just spin the rest. And then, it's just easier on your production that way.
Oh, sure.
No.
Do you think I should throw any, like, Kaizen Kiesel salt in there, or do you think it'll be fine as is?
Not going to help. It's not going to help. I mean, You could do it if you want, but it ain't going to help. If you have other things in there, right, that like fruit or other things that are suspended that require chitosan and or Kiesel salt, then having those things settle out along with it will help make the pellets more solid. That is true. But as if there's nothing else in there other than turmeric, then no. Another thing you might want to do is if she's using powdered turmeric, you know what? If you use powdered turmeric and you're happy, I wouldn't move to fresh turmeric because it's different flavor, and then it's not going to be, the product's not going to be shelf stable. You know what I mean? Powdered turmeric should be shelf stable.
Yeah, we got some fresh turmeric into play with it as well, but I figured I would try the easy solution first.
Yeah. Fresh turmeric is going to be delicious, even more stainy, and different, but also not stable. Like, it might go through, it might come back. I don't know. It might go through an awkward phase. Like, some things go through an awkward phase, and some things just, go downhill, and I've never, it's strange. I've never aged my turmeric gin long enough to know if it comes back out the other side delicious again, because I drink it so fast. You know what I mean? I do love turmeric.
I've got plenty of storage space, so I might have to do that as well and let you know.
Yeah. Do a test. Let us know. It'd be good for me to know.
All right. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. On Spinzall, by the way, you like that? We got an update from our factory, right, Quinn?
Yeah, we have. Well, do you want to say?
All right. Well, we for those that don't know, Booker and Dax, we built a centrifuge for bars and restaurants, and no one wanted it, and then. When we finally built up a market so that people wanted it, the factory changed hands and we lost the ability to make it. So we finally are getting the ability to make it this year. They say they're going to make it this year. but I wanted to move away. The old one had what's called an interlock in it, and the reason is because in a regular Cuisinart, when you open it, the blade stops because why wouldn't it? In this, when you open it, it's got a rotor full of juice. The rotor plus juice together weigh something close to a kilo, and it's spinning fast, and so it doesn't slow down immediately, and there's no way to slow it down immediately.
And you don't want to.
And you don't want to, but I mean, even like as an emergency, once you open the lid, you can't slow it down quickly for reasons that are too long and boring. But the answer is because you're required by code that actually opening the lid disconnects the motor. And once you disconnect the motor, I can't even do an electronic brake on it, right? So I need to design it such that you can't open it when it's spinning. So the original Spinzall has an electronic interlock in it with a solenoid. And this solenoid, Quinn, John,
super bad, annoying.
Super annoying. Yeah, one of the biggest failure points of it is this thing. So one of the things we did is we designed a mechanical interlock so that you don't need to have electronics. You just have a little wrench that allows you to open the lid when it stops, but you can't take the lid off when it's running. And they finally agreed to make it, and they sent us a mock-up.
There we go.
It's not quite what I wanted, but it's close enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Finally.
So Spinzall update for you people, and Sears All Pro update for you people. They said they weren't going to ship any before the Lunar New Year, but in fact they did ship a portion of them before Lunar New Year, so they're on their way, right?
Yeah, roughly 300. I'm still working on the tracking notifications, but those should be in people's inboxes soon-ish.
Nice. All right. From Wismerd, question. 'Tis the season for wild mushrooms, at least out on the West Coast. Many moons ago, you spoke of a long, boring mushroom chapter in your next book. True, both long and boring. Because we're clearly going to have to wait at least a year to read us, give us a little teaser of some of your shroom cookery insights, please, and thanks. See, what can I say that? Okay. This seems obvious, but I think isn't obvious, and it's not beaten into people's heads enough. You cannot overcook a mushroom. I'll say this again. You cannot overcook a mushroom. Let me say it a different way. There is not a way to cook a mushroom too long, but you can dry out a mushroom and then it's ruined. So as long as you have most times when you think of a mushroom that's overcooked, you're actually thinking about, and by the way, I don't mean like you can't overcook a truffle, right? Which is where the aroma is gone. I'm talking texture standpoint. Mushrooms go through the vast majority of their textural and size changes around 60 to 65 degrees Celsius. A lot lower than you'd think, right? So like those transformations take place at a relatively low temperature, and then any change that takes place after that is only marginal, and they'll continue. Unlike a protein, which when you cook it at a high temperature for a long time gets drier and drier, mushrooms don't do that. As long as they have liquid that they can wick up, they will stay moist because the structure is based on chitin, not based on protein. And it doesn't break down because it's not, so it doesn't squeeze too hard. And unlike things like pectin-based things, pectin breaks down as it cooks, like a potato will break down. Vegetables break down. Mushroom, not a vegetable, won't break down. Can't overcook it. So that's one. And two, when you rehydrate a non-fresh mushroom, it does in fact taste better if you rehydrate it in cold water. Right. So if you rehydrate it in hot water, in a bunch of side-by-side tests, you'll notice that the cold water one does in fact taste better. And I have a lot more, but I'll give you those two now, and we'll sprinkle our mushroom. Were those good, John?
Yeah, I didn't know that first one. I mean, I knew you can overcook them, but I didn't know why. So that was interesting.
Yeah. But they shrink by like 50%. It's crazy. Like the amount of shrinkage is. I have in the book I have pictures of it of like the time stages of it shrinking, and then a chart of mushroom density versus time cooking, and it's crazy the amount of shrinkage. Yeah,
going to be a page turner.
Oh my God, people are like, I can't wait to see how much this mushroom's going to shrink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it'll be good.
No one's gonna do that. No one's gonna do that. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything with truffles. It's not about. In fact, most of the stuff in the book is about like standard mushrooms, mainly because there are a million people who have written books on like XYZ fancy mushroom, right? And I was just more like, what is it about mushrooms? Plus, also, I think crappy mushrooms are delicious.
Yeah.
I think we
All
need
mushrooms are delicious.
Oh yeah, mushrooms are delicious. Patrick Ciccone writes in, gas stoves have been in the news recently and on my mind. As my wife and I have a newborn in our apartment. On my mind, as my wife and I have a newborn in our apartment. Congrats. We have a standard, i.e. awful, hot point stove with 2 pilot lights on the burner and a pilot light in the oven. Most of my cooking in this kitchen is done on an induction hob, a Cuisinart steam oven, and a microwave. When I do use the range, I always open a window, whatever the weather, but I'm wondering if there are concerns about pollution from just the pilot combustion going all day and night. And should I switch over to something with electric ignition and no pilots? The gas supply is too inconvenient to access to just keep the whole thing off, except when it's in use. Unfortunately, not enough power in the kitchen to go full induction or electric oven plus gas. The kitchen is galley-sized and off a hallway, so it is not open into a living space in the bedrooms directly, even though the apartment is very big. Though I have no idea what pollutants travel in air. All right, what I'm about to tell you is not okay or safe, but I always turn my pilot lights off and light with a torch. 100% of the time, I turn my pilots off and light with a torch. It's not safe because you could inadvertently turn the gas on and then there's gas pouring into your house, right? I will say this: when my oven pilots, I blow out my oven pilots in the summer, and I light them in the winter, right? Because my oven makes the house very hot. If it's on all the time with its pilots. And I'll tell you this. I don't know. I haven't seen any data. But if anyone paints anywhere near a house that has pilot lights on, you get this horrible smell because things that you can't smell from the paint get burnt in the pilot lights. And so, like, I can tell if someone's been painting anywhere near me based on the pilots in my oven. So I know that it does produce things, but I don't know how bad they are or kind of what the answer is. If you're willing to take, as Booker would say, if you're willing to take the risk, you can just disable your pilots and light them with a torch, which is what I do and what a lot of people in kitchens do when they know they're using it all the time and there's not an issue where gas is going to build up, because pilots are finicky anyway. Let's be honest, pilots suck. Was this what do you think, John? Is this an okay answer? Yeah. I mean, like, I don't want to tell you to do something unsafe, but I do know that when I used to live in an industrial loft, I had a gas oven and the pilots were on all the time. And I had a Garland, a 6-burner Garland gas range. I had salamander. I didn't keep the pilots in my fryer on, but I had the pilots and also in the stove on all the time. And there were constantly people working, and so fumes would come up and the smell. I also had a gas, one of those indoor blue flame gas heaters, because I was living illegally in this loft, and so on the weekends there was no heat. And the first year we were living there, I looked at pictures the other day, and there was no heat. And it was just something we accepted. You know, we were in our 20s. We're like, so we don't have heat. You know what I mean? And it's New York, so it's cold. You know what I mean? Big, leaky windows.
There too,
yeah, big, leaky windows, no heat. And so you look back at these pictures, and we're just like inside having dinner in parkas. We're just sitting there in parkas. We're like, this is normal. The heat will come on in like 2 days. This is fine. I can do this for 2 days a week, you know? And so then they started selling these no-vent indoor blue flame gas units. And so I started heating it with gas. And when that thing was running all the time, oh my God, anyone in the building paints or uses like their laser cutter and whatnot, and it would make the volatile suddenly detectable by burning them. So I don't know what the answer is. All right. Austin Gibbs was at a catered event, and one of the dishes was grilled steak that was super tender and delicious. When I asked the guy what the cut was, he says that it was the tail of the tenderloin, but he couldn't remember the actual name of it. Is there a name for the tail of the tenderloin? Would love to maybe ask a butcher if they have any kicking around from their filet mignon orders. My Googles didn't produce a satisfactory answer. I think it's literally just that. It's like a tenderloin is like a tube with a tail on the end of it, right? And what you need to do is you need to make friends with an actual butcher, right? And say, hey, can you save me? The problem is this. You need to find not only that, but someone who realizes that maybe it wasn't going to be. You need to find someone who does a lot of butchering of tenderloins. So here's the friend you need to make. You need to make a friend who is a butcher, not for individual humans, but like for a restaurant, right? Then they're going to butcher all those fillets. They might be willing to cut you a rate, save up those tails and cut you a rate, right? But the average person who sells to jamokes on the street is just going to sell the tail at the same price that they sell the rest of it, right? So you need to find someone who's doing portioning, right? So my old butcher used to sell to restaurants. Like when I lived on 38th Street, the loft I was just telling you about, he used to sell to restaurants, and he would save me specific cuts that the restaurants didn't want, and I could get cut a rate on that stuff. So you need to make friends with some butchers because they might have something that can cut you a rate. But I've never seen someone selling I haven't looked, but I haven't seen someone selling just a tail portion for less money, right? That's the key thing, for less money, you know? And if you were buying them and you wanted to make filet mignon out of them, you could also just meat glue those sons of guns together, like tip to tail, turn them like triangle to triangle, like it's a fish, and turn them into tubes. That's what I do when I buy whole fillets, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is that a good answer? That makes sense?
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I can't find a specific name, just tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the questions? Are grains you purchase from grocery stores, like sorghum, deactivated to prevent them from sprouting? I soaked some sorghum overnight, drained them, and then let them hang out at room temperature for a little over a week, and none of them sprouted. It's likely it's something I'm doing wrong on my end and not the product, but I wanted to rule it out before buying more grain. I don't really sprout things, but I mean, I have sprouted things, but I don't really sprout things a lot. But yes, grains in general, unless they have been hulled or pearled, are generally viable, right? They're not, unless it says it's been toasted, hulled, or pearled, it should be sproutable. And I looked on the internets, and people are sprouting sorghum, and they're not like, usually when something is a problem, people are like, hey, yo, this is a problem. You got to buy this specific sorghum. And no one did. But there's one person who was like, be careful, but then no one else did. So look it up. Someone was like, be careful, cyanide. But then I didn't trust their reference, and I didn't have time to dig into it. So, whatever. But I can't say it's 100% safe because I didn't do all the research. But I don't think it's unsafe. I mean, to be honest. I mean, other than the fact that, like, sprouts will poison you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Listen, I know that everyone who knows me knows I say I don't like sprouts. It's not that I don't like all sprouts. I specifically don't like alfalfa sprouts and wheatgrass, right? Mm-hmm. Mung bean sprouts, good. Mm-hmm. Especially if you cook mung bean sprouts, good. I just think raw sprouts a lot of times taste like the filth that they're grown in. When was the last time you sealed up kept something wet for a week, went back to it and were like, yum. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work for socks. Why would it work for sprouts? You know what I mean? I don't know. They smell a little filthy to me. I guess you could rinse them. Or you could cook them. Are you a sprout guy, John?
I mean, I don't hate it. Hate them.
Joe, sprouts?
I like sprouts.
Yeah? Quinn? What are we Jack? Nastasia? What do you guys think?
I'm neutral on sprouts.
Yeah, indifferent.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If someone hands you a sandwich, and you're like, oh, you're going to have a fried chicken sandwich, and then they hand it to you, and it's got a pile of those stringy alfalfa, dry, stringy alfalfa sprouts on it, and when you eat it, they like stick in your freaking teeth, and you spit them out when you say things. Is that fun? You like that?
I don't think of it the same way as you do.
It's gross. It's gross. All right, how much time we got? Take what it is.
Playing.
I don't know. Is there any questions in the Patreon? I feel like
Yeah, we do have one more Discord.
All right, what do you got?
Well, we have a few Discord questions. Did you ever try to make the miracle fat-injected pork?
Okay. I've done some preliminary tests, but I haven't. What I need to do is emulsify the fat because the stuff that they add it's not just fat. I think it's duck fat, salt, sugar, and like maybe like a broth of some kind. So I have done a little bit of testing, but I haven't done a fully I need to get some ticoloid and make like an injectable thing to get you a real answer. But everyone on Earth needs to be eating. If you eat pork, you should be eating magic pork. All right? All right. Cooking issues.